Are we live?
We're now live. Good evening and welcome to Broadsheet on the Telly, Winter Solstice special. My name is John Preposterous Ryan. I want to wish everybody a very, very happy Christmas and a happy New Year. We have a very ambitious project on the go here. We're coming live from a house in Crumlin. It looks like Johnny Keane and Luke Brennan.
Could you back off to Crumlin? We're further posher southern than that. No offense to all my friends from Crumlin.
Person sitting next to you.
Okay, no, guys, I can barely hear you. I don't know whether you can hear yourselves. Luke?
Yeah, I can hear everyone.
I can hear everyone, yeah.
Johnny?
Yep.
Neil?
Yeah.
Vanessa? Vanessa?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, there.
Can you not hear me? That's terrible. I'm
Yes.
close.
Okay, well then, rather than do separate hangouts, we decided to all hang out at this place in Crumlin. We're going to go.
Dublin 18, please, John. Dublin
18. I don't know what the difference is there, but Dublin 18 anyway. Live from Dublin 18. But
higher altitude.
Across town, we have Dan Boyle,
Shane Ross, haven't you?
politician, broadcaster, writer, broadsheet columnist of some note. His Thursday column is brilliant, even if you don't agree with him, as they say. Dan has written a new book, brilliant book called Making Up the Numbers, and it's a very depressing title, but it's about the sort of coalition governments in Ireland. Dan.
Yes, John.
You're speaking to us from a friend's apartment, so I won't keep you, but congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
And a very happy Christmas to you.
Indeed, and to you all.
And a very happy New Year. Judging from your columns, you've become less apocalyptic in the last week or so. But politically, you're quite gloomy about the world.
Well, it's. I just think it's the way things are. I've actually been following the Twitter feed on Catalonia tonight, and it looks like Rajoy has made a big mistake in calling this election, and it hasn't changed much. It looks like there's still an impetus towards Catalonian independence, which on a personal basis I think is a good thing, but I think other people might look at it in terms of the kind of the maybe even the dialectic, if it's not too funny a word to say, that we've experienced over the last 2-3 years, the kind of Brexit Trump kind of dichotomy that's around the place. But I think 2017 has been far better than 2016.
Okay.
Things came to the surface which should have been noticed and maybe avoided before then, but 2017 I think it's been more of a better recognition of why 2016 happened and why we can go forward from this on a personal level. I'm a bit more optimistic than I would have been 12 months ago.
And the book is about minority, well, parties propping up, usually Fine Gael. But in your case, if it was anyway. Sorry, let me go back. The book. I mean, when you think back, you think, oh, there's no. I mean, the parties get smothered by the bigger parties, but you've got these huge personalities like McBride, Noel Brown.
Yeah, they all left their mark. There's no doubt about it, and you can see where they went wrong and how they went wrong. And it's a bit depressing, really, that the most successful other party in Irish politics has been the PDs, because they spent more time in government than they spent in opposition. But they also put in place the kind of template for the problems we're experiencing now, the tax less and treat public spending as if it's some kind of cardinal sin approach to public policy. But the real story, I think, has been that without the smaller parties, even with their disappearance eventually, you wouldn't have had any degree of change in the Irish political system, because there's no real difference between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. There's some class distinctions maybe, but in terms of how they approach government and what interests they serve, Irish politics would have been going nowhere over a 50-year period until the early 80s. And there were been small shocks at the start of the life of the nation, the 1948 government. But since 1981, there has been people like Workers' Party, Democratic Left, the Greens, PDs, coming from different angles, and even Solidarity, PBB. So we've come from a situation where in 1969 there was one independent TD, Joe Sheridan in Longford, Westmeath, and maybe 2% of the vote for other than Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and Labour, to where we have at least 1/3 of the vote. Now, that might need to be calibrated differently in the next election, because the next election will entrench Sinn Féin into that third party role, and the future of the Labour Party is going to be called into existence. There's never been a kind of a situation where the Labour Party in 2 elections in succession have been in 4th place or even 5th place, which they might be after the next election. So I think the nature of Irish politics has certainly changed. And what we seem to have done a uniquely Irish thing. We've moved towards the European model of having diversity in political choice and having several parties. But we also have this unique Irish animal, which doesn't exist in other political systems, the independent, which is also a mean for people to express their dissatisfaction with the status quo.
Do you think, Dan, for a proportional representation system, we have very few parties really compared to other countries with that system?
Well, ours is unique to ourselves in Malta. The Scottish use it for their local elections. But in Malta, who have exactly the same system, they only elect 2 parties, the National Party and the Labour Party, and they have 2 to 3% of the vote that goes. There's a small Green Party that gets 2% of the vote, and independents don't really exist in their system. So there's something unique in the Irish culture that looks at the alternative to the traditional parties as being smaller parties and independents. That's unique to Ireland.
When you went into government, Dan, with Fianna Fáil, had you spoken to Labour prior to going in?
Well, in my last book, which was kind of a personalised account of the experience of government, I account a strange encounter I had with Michael D. Higgins in the foyer, the members' bar of Dáil Éireann, and he was telling me how he would have preferred if Labour had stayed in government with Fianna Fáil in 1994, because he found them a lot more easy to deal with in terms of the experience with Fine Gael subsequently. But he also said that you can't win either way. And we got into government in 2007 knowing that at the very least we were going to lose votes and lose seats at the subsequent election. We could have kept it to maybe 4 seats and maybe lost 10,000 votes. But as a smaller party, that's the trade-off you make. You know that you're going to get the disproportionate blame for whatever happens in government, or even for the business of going into government.
Yeah, it is quite amazing, because with the possible exception of Brian Cowan, I mean, I think you get more stick than most people. Certainly in the comment section for Green's apparent, I don't know, indifference to the bailout. Not indifference, but
I suppose myself and Eamon Ryan, I think, made a huge mistake at the time, and it's a Green thing. This willingness and this need to engage, which was treated negatively by many people, because in politics you should have to explain, you should make yourself available. Whereas the Fianna Fáil trick would have been to keep your head down and say nothing, and that's what constitutes political success in traditional Irish politics.
Although I think that government would have had a shorter term if there had been Twitter then.
Twitter started in 2007, I think, but
it wasn't really a feature till Coveney, I guess. Tweeted.
No. Well, yeah, I tweeted about Willie O'D in 2010, and Coveney was maybe 3 or 4, maybe 6 months after that, about Brian Cowan.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, you've effectively forced his resignation. I mean, does that make you, I mean, in terms of a coalition, does that make it like inevitable that the coalition won't last once you've got ahead?
It would have been the start of things. I mean, there was John Downing who launched my book in Dublin. He's now back with the Irish Independent, but he would have been assistant government secretary at the time, and he would have had to face Orno Knockdown and maybe even Brian Cowan himself each morning about something I would have tweeted or something I would have said. And the expectation is that you were supposed to be kept on side, but I saw my role as chair of the party to at least create the impression that there was difference within the government parties, that there was something distinct about the Green Party. And I may not have done it as successfully as I should have, but that's my intent at the time.
And was it a deliberate kind of bad cop role?
Well, no, I don't think there was even strategy about it. I remember there would have been some journalist who thought there was kind of John Gormley in the background holding puppet strings or whatever. But John was either indifferent or happy to let me operate under my own steam in terms of how I was using Twitter and how I was promoting the party in a way that he couldn't as a member of the cabinet.
Yeah, yeah. I must say there is one thing that separates the Greens from all the other parties that went into coalition. Your loyalty is extraordinary to each other.
Yeah, it was a difficult time for all of us. But I suppose after 2008, we made a conscious decision that we were trying to achieve what we could in government, that we weren't going to achieve anything in the next election, that script had already been written. And the intention being created was that we should have left government then. But we knew that even a change of government wouldn't have resulted in a change of policy. So we felt we had a mandate. We had to try to serve it for as long as we could. And even at the end of the day, we left 18 months before we should have, So it was a year government that could have run for 5 years, and it became impossible for us in the end.
Yeah, I mean, the personal side of things is key, though, is it, Dan? I mean, if you guys just don't get on, you don't get on. I mean,
with the six of us, I mean, there would have been, I suppose there would have been only one personality difficulty, and that would have been between Eamon Ryan and Paul Gaugerty, I'd imagine. And that predated us going into government. That had to do with Eamon wanting to run for president in 2004. So sometimes the personality difficulties isn't about being in government or having political differences. It's just that people don't like each other, or they have personal differences.
I think that Gilmore seemed to have had a good relationship with Enda Kenny. I mean, I may be wrong in that, but I mean, certainly Gilmore's book doesn't lay into Enda in any big way. Would you describe that as a successful coalition, for instance? I mean, just on the actual relationships between the two parties.
Well,
like it didn't end bitterly,
No, the personal difficulties are one thing. I mean, we would have had a huge difficulty with the Labour Party when we were in government, because we felt we were, in policy terms, closest to the Labour Party, but they were doing the most sniping of our role in government in a way that we felt we wouldn't have done in reverse, and we didn't do, even though we didn't have a Dáil presence subsequently. And there was a lot of hypocrisy we felt in the attitude that was being adopted. I don't think it was a successful government because the Labour Party had 1/3 of that coalition. It was 2-1. Yeah. The rate in Fianna Fáil in Green Party was 13-1. Our leverage was far smaller. There was never really a recognition of that.
And they took portfolios that seemed to be the most publicly kind of the one that would be most public opprobrium would be heaped upon them. I mean, well,
with the exception of Gilmore himself, I mean, he did
went into
social welfare and education and even the change of portfolios after Gilmore left. They were all in difficult portfolios. I think the problem with Labour was in 2007. They could have had a choice to let a minority Fine Gael government go ahead, but there were too many people in Labour who were coming to the end of their own political careers.
Yeah,
wanted to have the last ride on the merry-go-round, and that in itself caused the most damage to Labour.
Yeah, the book is fantastic for political anoraks, but I have a soft spot for the Rainbow Coalition. I don't know. I think it's, but what would you regard as the most successful of the partnerships of the coalition?
Well, I think when there's something other than Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael Labour, I think, and the Rainbow, in the 2.5 years they had, I do mention in the book that there's a kind of a plea from the office they had, the Democratic Left in Middle Abbey Street at the time, that they couldn't run a party and be in government at the same time. They're just too small. They didn't have the numbers. They didn't have the expertise. I think that's a repeating phase for every party who was another party in Irish politics. And even with Clonard Publica, it wasn't so much that they lost the run of themselves. It was very much personality conflicts between people like McBride and Noel Brown and the like.
Yeah.
There were several, I think there were 6 or 7 Clonard Publica people elected in 1951 when there's only 2 people elected for Clonard Publica itself. And one of the things I have in the book is a quite pertinent speech made by Pater Cowan, who would have been elected in 48 and thrown out of Clonard Publica quite quickly. He talks about, in his open a way he can, about abuse in the Artane Industrial School in 1954, which is hard to picture when so many of our politicians subsequently stayed silent on those type of subjects.
Amazing. And Clonard Publica was gone within a decade then, wasn't it?
It was 65. It was their last election. Yeah.
Yeah. Clonard Towlin lasted about 10 years, didn't it?
Well, they were slightly longer, but they had a strange situation where they didn't stand in the 1965 election. There was then legislation to register political parties. And Clonard Towlin continued to register their party up until 1969 without contesting elections. Okay. And had a key person down as their last leader, who actually died in 1968, but was still listed as their key person in 1969 to contact for the register of political parties.
Was that Blowick? Is it Joe?
That was Joe Blowick in Mayo. Yeah. Oh
my God. That seemed to be like Fianna Fáil, more Fianna Fáil than the Fianna Fáil party itself.
Well, I mean, there was a time when Fine Gael won 4 seats out of 5 in Mayo, but after a by-election in the middle 50s, Clonard Towlin had 3 out of 5 seats in Mayo South as a small party. And they won Senate seats without any Senate bartering. So that they must have had a huge number of councillors in Western county councils and things like that had elected senators out of their own right. They didn't have to look to other parties to enter into arrangements. I was part of an arrangement in 1992, and people might find this hard to believe, but the Green Party, Democratic Left, and the PDs used their local authority bases to try to get as many seats as possible on the Senate. And it elected 2 PDs and 1 Democratic Left, and gave me something like 50 votes on the Culture and Education panel.
My God, now that is tactical.
Strange bedfellows, yeah.
Indeed. That would be an amazing coalition. What would be a dream coalition for you, Dan, involving the Greens, obviously, the majority party?
I mean, our preference would be that it would be centre-left, but that's never been possible in Irish politics. People tend to forget that the 2 largest parties in Irish politics are centre-right. And it's impossible numerically to form a coalition. And you can either take the Solidarity PPB line and saying you'll never be in government unless there's a majority or whatever, or you can try to change from within. And I would be along the lines of all the other smaller parties that entered government even before the Greens, and even brought about their own self-destruction by doing so. I think we're in a new era now. I mean, the Greens are the first party to have 1 seat gone out of the Dáil and 1 seat's back again. And there's a consistency in votes for Sinn Féin and for Solidarity PPB. I think what we might see in the next election is the independent vote going down slightly. I think the Independent Alliance will suffer a lot, whereas World Independents will probably do okay in their own bailiwicks. But I don't think the arithmetic is going to change that much. The likelihood is that we may just see a jockeying of position between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael as to who the lead party in the next minority government is going to be.
Okay, but do you see Sinn Féin in the next government?
Well, there's a possibility with Fianna Fáil and with Mary Lou as the leader, but Sinn Féin still has to break through a glass ceiling. They've done very well in building up their vote. But their maximum vote in a Dáil setting has been 13%, which is well short of the best performance of the Labour Party, for instance, who have breached 20% on several elections. So, and the secondary problem they have is that they're not very good at transfers. There's still this thing around their neck about their past and their attitude to political violence in particular. The challenge will be, can Mary Lou move them away from that? I suspect she can slightly, but not enough. There needs to be a total generational change in Sinn Féin, and that may take 2 or 3 elections, yes. And that could depend on what happens in Northern Ireland as well, where there's still a lot of intransigence about whether Stormont's going to be up and running again. And if people see that, there might be a small spillover as to if they can't run a government in Northern Ireland, can they be part of a government in Dublin?
And Labour are now in the position the Greens were a few years ago, despised for, going into bed with these guys and whatnot. Do you see them making any comeback in this election?
I don't see them making a comeback. I think it's going to be a very difficult election for them. I think the only person of the 7 they have, there'll be a few retirements, is probably Brendan Howland himself. Slight possibility for Alan Kelly. They have chances with possibly Aidan O'Riordan and winning a seat in Kildare South. But I don't see them coming back with more than 4 or 5 seats, and they'll be very difficult to have a presence in the next while. It could be that there could be some kind of coalescing in the opposition between smaller parties like Labour and the Greens and PPB, but that's for the voters to decide, I think.
And the Social Democrats, Dan?
Yeah, they have a chance with Gary Gannon in Dublin Central with the additional seat, and he came very close to winning the last time. I don't expect that Maureen O'Sullivan, who stood the last time, will stand again, so he's in prime position to win an extra seat for them. I think Catherine and Roisin are fairly solid in terms of their own re-election, but they don't have a local authority base, and it's hard to identify anyone else in the country where they might get elected in a general election situation. So I would see them with about 3 seats.
3 seats, okay. Well, and that could be enough to get a seat at the table. Maybe.
If it's a situation where it's the best of the rest and the second biggest party stands down and doesn't contest votes on the budget and votes of confidence, it could well be that we're going to be nowhere close to a majority situation, I think, in terms of a coalition the next time.
No, I mean, if you were starting a political party, now's the time, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, it wouldn't be my cup of tea, but there's still a huge gap in the market in terms of the PD renewal vote, and the fact that they haven't got their act together means that Fine Gael are probably doing better than they should be otherwise, because that's where most of that vote is going to.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, I think Leah Varadkar has made Renew a fairly kind of, their role, they're immaterial, aren't they? I mean,
they have 2 councillors, and they seem to intend to go down the anti-abortion role to give them some relevance in the next year or so. But I think that's one thing that comes out of the vote, and something we should be grateful for in Irish politics. The diversity we had, even though it's not to the extent of other European countries, it hasn't brought up extreme political parties. It hasn't brought up anti-immigration parties. It hasn't brought up far-right parties. It hasn't brought up religious-based parties. And the choice that people have in Irish politics, maybe because of independence, means that those parties haven't thrived where they would have thrived in other countries.
Well, Dan, I don't want to keep you because I know you're in a friend's apartment. Thank you so much.
Not at all. It's a pleasure.
Book is Making Up the Numbers. It's from the History Press, and it's available at all good bookstores. I know it's available in Hutchins and Figgis and all the rest. Dan, yeah.
Hopefully, it's a good publishing company, and the publisher are telling me it's going well enough. I know it's a dry enough subject for many people, but they tell me it reads like a thriller in any case. So people to read it.
I read it in one sitting, but it's absolutely essential reading for anybody who's not in Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, and involved in politics. I mean, who wants to get some power in this country? Who wants to get to the table? And
that's kind of it.
And be effective. Dan, thank you very much.
No, my pleasure.
Before you go, Dan, would anybody?
Well, could I just for a moment just compliment Dan on his article this week? I thought it was particularly good and interesting. I think the whole thing of sort of the it was with regard to sort of the rampant consumerism and all that. I think it's an interesting thing that these are questions I think a lot of people are asking themselves in their lives. I think I'm asking them questions. I mean, how many of this or that do I need? But the thing that I thought was interesting was that there are sort of paths, the sort of short-circuiting that sort of problem of mass consumerism, and I think things like sort of craft and supporting Irish-made goods and like high-quality goods. I mean, the whole thing of the arts and crafts movement in the UK 100 years ago, Art Nouveau, all of that was about society being made better by making nicer things, and that's a very interesting way to, as I said, to sort of short circuit that, buying for the sake of it.
Yeah, I think the other side of that is that we could go back to what the Irish were quite good at 100 years ago, the whole idea of co-ops to produce things that people can use rather than own. And we've lost that in Irish society, even though we were world leaders in it at one stage. If we can find that again, I think we might be more of a service.
Yeah, I think it's all in making and doing, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
Anybody else, Johnny?
How are you doing, Dan? I didn't read your column today, but I'm just kind of interested in relation, and I'd like to read the book actually. It seems very interesting, seeing as I'm neither Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil, and John says it's a must. But I kind of look at Fine Gael, or beg your pardon, or Green, as I look at Labour. When you were in, you kind of drank the soup, for want of a better term. Someone like Trevor Sargent didn't. He made a big deal about not going in with Bertie. So I kind of thought like the Greens didn't have to, and unfortunately you got punished the same way as Labour got punished. And I think the backlash from the Green faithful and the Labour faithful is twice as bad as against the leading party, if you know what I mean.
Well, it tends to be, but I mean, in defence of that, and there's a lot of things we got wrong, and we were naive and all the rest, but we went into government by having a convention of all our party members in the Mansion House, and they voted 84% that we should go in. And 2.5 years later, we had a review of the programme for government, asking whether we should stay in and whether there were new things in the programme that would make us stay in. And again, they voted 84% to stay in. We may have got it wrong. We may have been too naive, but we never lost our sense of consulting with our members and being democratic about whether we should be in government or not. Personally, I would do the same thing again, because my belief is that you can only change things within government. Being in government means that you're going to suffer a lot, and you're going to suffer the ignominy of being the smaller party and taking most of the blame. But if you think you change things from the outside, you're truly being naive. What I'm trying to get across in the book is that the smaller parties that have preceded the Greens and may even follow the Greens, they may have followed the same template and went into the abyss sort of thing. But there is a right way of doing it. If someone is going to get it right eventually. If I might point out the Free Democrats, who are the Liberal Party in Germany, throughout the 1970s, they played off Helmut Schmidt and Helmut Kohl against each other, and were a permanent presence in government.
Right. Yeah.
So there are parties that are called hinge parties, and there are parties that are who without whom a government can be formed, and there are parties who are just needed from time to time to make up the numbers. And in Irish politics, a successful smaller party, which Labour have tried to be, but with Dick Spring in 1992, but failed, is to be the party without whom a government can't be formed. And when that happens in Irish politics, and if it's a centre-left politics party in particular, I think progressive politics will thrive because of that.
Yeah, and just in Germany, the Greens' time in government ruined them, really, didn't it? Well,
they didn't disappear, but they had one of their highest votes ever this year. But there's now 6 parties, I think, in the Bundestag, and what looks like happening in Germany is the return of the Grand Coalition, the Christian Democrats and the Social Democrats, which I think the Social Democrats will be mad to do, but. Yeah. It looks, and I think it'll be good for the Greens to be outside of that and take up the further diminution in the Social Democrat votes. I think to be fair to Labour, this is one point we need to make, and maybe I didn't stress enough in the book. The problem that Labour have had is also a problem that social democracy has had in Europe, because all the social democratic parties in Europe have their vote has gone down enormously over the last 20 years, and that's about having an attitude that's more intellectual about progressive politics and less to do with representing ordinary people. They've lost touch. They let the race go, and that's why they're suffering.
Yeah, and also their role, I think, was a bit like the Sunday Tribune was to keep out the Sunday Times in Dublin. It never made money, but it was just as a buffer for. And I think Labour was a buffer for Sinn Féin, really, wasn't it?
That's in the last 10 years in particular. Yeah, that's true.
It felt that way. And Jan, go back to your friend. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
For joining us. And a happy Christmas. And
enjoy the season.
Thank you very much.
Happy Christmas, Dan.
Happy Christmas, Dan.
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Hello to Crumlin. Hello.
Look, we have Marks and Spencer's cocktail sticks.
Okay.
I tell you, you wouldn't have this mess in Crumlin. There'd be no feedback.
The Caribbean about bricks.
Only the cocktail sticks are the sausage.
No, we don't do. We're too posh for cocktail sausages. We have pate.
Sure, can we twist the camera around?
Please.
Keep talking, you there, Neil. Watch now.
So we have a spread.
We have a spread.
The finest St. Bernard spread.
I'm not talking about me.
Wow.
Look, you'll see the areas. Look.
And there's Johnny.
Very strange to be looking at Johnny.
With a bit of luck now, Luke, he'll run in.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And he'll come in behind us.
They banished me to the kitchen.
Hence,
yeah, and can you see myself and Luke are after getting very friendly, so I've had to wear his jumper on the way home this evening.
That's lovely.
I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, Luke in the that's so sweet.
What happens in the telly stage?
I'm only human.
What goes on in Dublin 18 stays in Dublin.
Oh, we're Dublin 18 now.
What are you, Dublin 18?
We're Dublin 18 out here.
Yeah, Dublin 18. Yeah. Crumlin, right? So
lads, I have to melting. I have to get this jumper. Sorry, excuse me, lads.
I have to get an adult beverage, a cup of tea. Neil, you're the producer now. Please take over for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah. Neil, you take care of it because I haven't got a fucking clue what's going on. Well, actually, while you're getting a beverage, John, we go ahead and get your beverage, and we will cover by talking about the new movie released this week, which is Jumanji 2. Vanessa is very excited because The Rock, Dwayne Johnson's in it. So you grab your beverage, John, and
I hear it's a terrible movie though, but
I hear it's been tipped to be an Oscar winner. And Golden Globes as well.
Jumanji 2.
Jumanji 2, yeah. It's really, I mean, move over
Oscars or whatever.
Move over Star Wars. Adam Driver takes his top off in Star Wars, but it doesn't compete with The Rock just looking at the audience. But listen, John, you go get.
I will. I'll get the tea. But Neil, we have to discuss the Star Wars movie as well. By the way, okay.
We will discuss that.
Okay.
We will.
Okay.
You go get your tea, John. So while John is getting his tea,
he's there.
He's there. He can't hear us, so he can't hear us.
Oh, he's gone. He's gone. All right. So what will we do? Will we just Neil, do you want, or Luke, do you want to come in and we'll set up the birthday cake?
Okay.
So we should probably tell the people who are watching what you're doing.
As you know, John's birthday, he's 39 tonight.
He doesn't want anyone to know that.
So we're actually throwing him a birthday party and be presents and everything for him. So we're going to big happy birthday and big hoo-ha when he comes in, all right? So I'll get the candles and the cake.
So John has no idea that we're doing this, and he's not even in the room, but we got him cake gifts, and he'll probably freak out when he comes back. So this is about as live as they get. We have all the banners that are coming out. So this is kind of a bit of a birthday special for John, unknowns to him. He didn't get an agenda for the show tonight, so he's probably pretty upset about that as well. So we thought we'd use the occasion to celebrate his birthday and celebrate what John has done over the years. I guess for Broadsheet and the Broadsheet of olden times, and new Broadsheet with the state-of-the-art technology broadcasting every week at 10 p.m., approximately 10 p.m. every Thursday. So we've got we have. I have no idea if you can hear this. So we have Johnny and Luke now dressing up in their hats and their happy birthday banners. Vanessa has removed Luke's jumper, and she's also hanging up her. But that'll have to go lower. So do please bear with us, folks, as we do this. This is as live and raw as we can get.
Live.
Live. We've no sellotape.
No sellotape. You get sellotape in Dublin in Crumlin, lads.
You trying to gag me again, Vanessa?
I know. Do we agree the age, by the way?
So now it's the awkward bit where I train while they're putting up decorations. We don't have Olga. This is the bit where we get Olga to do the papers.
Yeah,
here.
We need Olga.
We don't have Olga.
We do some jokes.
So thank you for your patience, everyone. Do bear with us during. Just bear with us during.
Imagine if John doesn't come back.
He may not. Oh, he's coming back now. He's coming back now.
There he is. Yeah, here he is. Look at him.
So, John, welcome back. I don't know if you can see that, John.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, to you.
Right, John,
Thank you.
He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. Jolly good fellow. And so say all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Luke,
They're flying right, John. They're flying right.
Yeah. Did you say what?
He said as they're flying your eye.
So, John, there's a dispute about your age.
So it's 50. Yeah, it's 50 at midnight. So thank you very much.
All right.
This is completely unexpected as well. So
it's nice to surprise, John.
Well, you broke all our hearts with your sad story, John.
About the joint birthday Christmas presents.
Yeah, you did.
I got Dan Boyle's book.
We want market
birthday present.
Actually, John, we got you a present. Right? Specially wrapped in paper.
Splendid. I'm not sure how entertaining this is, but thank you. Very good.
And look, because it's attachment to paper, we clear sheet as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
You probably saw
thank you so much. This is amazing.
Sized paper on Broadsheet. You know the website Broadsheet. They have that paper on it.
I was just impressed. I was just impressed with the paper. Thank you so much, Vanessa.
There's something behind that paper, John. Like every good broadsheet story.
Oh yeah.
I only get the paper.
So John, and celebrate. I know it's hard to show you everything we have here for you, but you'll get those in the post. But we did want to kind of turn it a bit and kind of celebrate a little bit of your birthday. And I think Vanessa's going to take it from here and tell John what we're going to do with him.
What we decided is that the man who is everything, you get to meet completely, no holds barred, and it's promise honest answers.
Okay. From far away.
You ask us.
Oh, I ask you guys a question. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Ask us anything.
Prefer that one.
Wonderful. My heart is just sank.
Well, it's all your court.
So,
You're the man. It's your party. You'll cry if you want to.
well, and I have to ask a question of any kind. Look,
You can ask us anything you want. You get one question from each of us.
Johnny, what are your dreams for 2018?
Oh my God, you always start me, John. My dream for 2018. I'll tell you exactly what my dreams are. I've been talking a lot of shite on this program for the last 40 weeks. Well, it's not really. It's kind of opinion. I really like the platform that was being given to me. and to meet the guys. But I just think, like, you know, we've talked about so much in relation to Irish culture and really bad stuff that's happened, but 2018 needs to be the year of doing it. I want to be one of the doing it dudes, you know. And I really, really like the idea of co-ops. You know, communities communicating again, and you see it really in rural Ireland, how messed up it is. There is nothing going on. The big exodus to all the cities, and I'm not even talking about Dublin or Cork. I'm talking about, you know, London and Australia and you know, we're the brain drain is ongoing. You know, I think that there is money within the country. I think, you know, that there's a very negative and backward way in relation to the local councils about moving forward, moving ideas forward. We either are part of Europe or we're not, because, you know, we seem to be held back by bureaucracy. And I'd like to think that people come together, and 2018, a lot more creativity. And as Luke was saying, you know, we and Dan, we used to create, you know, and what have we got now? We want to adopt Ed Sheeran, we want to adopt Nathan Carter. There's an abundance of talent. I want to that new talent, bring it to the fore. So the likes of if these big bands that are coming to Ireland, you know, we should be not supporting local bands because they're local, but because they're good, and we don't hear enough of them. So I want to not even get into the mainstream, but I want people to embrace the subculture that is all around us, and I want to be active in doing that. So that's my hope and dream for 2018, to be active in a new Ireland that's imminently happening.
Yeah. Right. Nice one. Oh, Johnny, I wanted to say just something about Ireland or Dublin, the live scene. It's like Leeds, isn't it? I mean, we get the kind of the musical starring the guy from EastEnders or whatever, and you know, we get that. We're on this round of regional. We're, you know, Leeds, Liverpool, go to Dublin, and they've got the same radio sort of interviews they'll do in the local areas, and you know.
Well, it's set up like that, you know. They come over. One of the big promoters, Aiken, like, would look at Belfast and Dublin as UK cities. Well, obviously Belfast is a UK city, but if you're on a tour, you know, the rest of Ireland is taken away from that tour. So Dublin is essentially a UK city for those purposes.
They often
UK
leave
city,
the posters,
essentially. Yeah. Well, like, you know, well, even like, you know, when the U2 played Slane, some people thought that was Dublin. some people in Slane, but no, it's not actually. It's Meath.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. So,
Luke.
Well, it's not Crumlin anyway.
Luke, I know that you're off to Portugal soon.
That's correct.
So, what are your hopes, personal and beyond, for 2018?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, some of the things that like Dan was talking about are like the things like I'm trying to work out. I mean, I think everyone has sort of. In a way, I'm sort of lucky to be sort of unburdened by sort of kids or any sort of serious sort of commitments, I suppose, that I can sort of shift up and sort of stick my head up a bit and say, okay, well, I can actually sort of life a little bit, go somewhere else, have a think about, and you know, sort of changes I want to make myself. And I mean, you know, I think I'm a pretty good doer, and sort of I enjoy, but I think actually sort of trying to sort of how to sort of like center myself closer to sort of more real things, like more analog things, and sort of not be as attached to my phone or my laptop or whatever, and actually, you know, learn to play the piano and, you know, sort of draw more and this sort of stuff. I mean, that, like, they're my person, you know, trying both to sort of do those things, but understand personally I can sort of change my way of being to like I said, to change my center of being with those things. They're the kind of things we're trying to sort out.
And come back bright, wiser, and
well, always, hopefully, you know, we're always getting sort of wiser and better, and
but we're bringing back some talents to Ireland, and
but we've been doing it for generations, John. You know, Luke has been away as well a few times. I think most people have been away and they have come back, and we're better for it. But unfortunately, the people that haven't been anywhere, they're in charge of the coffers and the ideas, really. You know, so that has to be challenged from my perspective.
Well,
it makes all the great ones like Luke again, because there is a brain drain. That's terrible to see it.
I think even for mental health, you got to get off the island, as they say. Speaking of which, Neil, can you hear me? Neil, your mic is off.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Hello, Neil. I was going to ask you and Vanessa, seeing as you're sharing a camera, you can either one can start. What are your hopes, personal or otherwise, for 2018? With
full respect, this is always a difficult question to answer because it's usually based on an ideal that never, for most people, doesn't. I think my life turned upside down this year, last couple of months, and that's certainly given me a different perspective on life. But also coupled with a sick family, a very seriously ill family member, all happened around the same time. So it's certainly a different perspective on important in life to me, and that kind of thing is very personal to people individually. Certainly behavior changes. I've started to do. This is going to sound silly. Started to do shows where we're now getting kids along with their parents and introducing them to improv. Today, I've done a lot of work for Crumlin over the years, Crumlin Hospital.
Yeah.
A gang of us went into the hospital and actually delivered kids. Sorry. Freudian sleep. We delivered presents to some of the kids in the hospital, some of the patients in the hospital. Small little things like that, you kind of realize, I guess, or I've certainly realized as I've got older, is about giving to others and helping others. But on the selfish levels, improv is my passion, and I kind of want to see what you can do next year to break the mold in terms of getting improv more into the mainstream and how it's perceived in the arts in Ireland. Go abroad and get drunk and fall down somewhere without having to worry about changing nappies.
Well, you should. It's time to pitch a show for improv now in RT again, isn't it? It's been too long since
improv doesn't really go well on the TV, but arguably most RT shows are probably improvised. I don't know. I mean, the Tommy Tiernan thing was this improvised chat show, which was interesting. Improviser, but yeah,
that's very interesting. You didn't think that worked because of that, or did you think it worked because he wasn't?
No, I didn't watch a lot of them. I thought it was interesting. I mean, I kind of take that approach with my own show. But yeah, I thought it is interesting, and it's kind of something different as well. We seem to have I guess, how would you put it? A lack of really strong calibered interviewers. Some of you, I think Matt Cooper's probably, and I thought it was a different stand on it because he was very good at creating rapport with most of the guests that he had on, certainly that I saw, so I don't know what show holds, but I mean that was kind of good to see that done. But yeah, that's.
I think doing improv in Ireland is fascinating because without a drink, we're very shy, and doing that is real. Once you've done improv, it must be incredible afterwards. Like I think it's just a big phobia.
Public speaking is a big phobia I think it's either a Jerry Seinfeld joke or where in fact about you ask people no, we don't. You ask people what their fears are in life, and number 2 is dying, and number 1 learning improv. When you perform improv, the golden rule is not to go on stage having taken a drink.
Neil, I lost you there a bit.
I don't know what you call, but yeah, basically, in improv we don't go on stage. You're barred from taking alcohol before a show. Even the one to calm the nerves is a no-go. So we do have that thing that we assume alcohol gives us. It can actually be a hindrance. So we're very drink-centric in Ireland as well. He says while drinking a glass of mulled wine and a bottle of beer, but we are very drink-centric here. And it would be nice to see that change.
Could I just back up what Neil said there? In that I've just actually completed like an improv course. I just sort of looked it up and over a series of Wednesday nights, finished it. And it really is such a positive thing. I think like Neil said, in all those ways, for public speaking, for people. Or even so, there was an article in the Guardian today. They talked about how, like, you know, not only for performance, but also for sort of people suffering from anxiety, for people who are sort of having all sorts of like issues with regard to self, which is everyone, right? That you sort of it was a nice sort of platform where people could play a bit. And I think playing is, you know, we don't play enough, you know, and sort of it's a great positive, like, you know, format and forum for that sort of behavior.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, there's plenty of academic research about the benefits of improv and other aspects beyond performing on stage. They use it with working with Alzheimer's. There's a number of programs in prison systems, particularly in the US, but there's a program starting here in Ireland, a pilot starting in Ireland where they're using it with inmates. You know, so there's a lot of broad applications for it, besides the obvious, you know, of performing on stage and then using it. A lot of companies, particularly US companies, use it in the workplace. But it's just, well, it's nice, as Luke says, as adults to be playing, because we you know, with some people, we grew up playing because we're no longer kids, but you know, the concept of play is still a very addictive thing for adults as well, and of course we're learning when we do it.
Neil, you were in Crumlin. Did you bump into Ronan Keating and Brendan O'Carroll? And
no, I just missed them. I saw a rugby player, but I only recognised him because he's got that mullet still. But I wouldn't be able. I wouldn't call them. I wouldn't pick them out of the lineup. Yeah, they said that we. So they were our warm up act of us going in. But I didn't get to meet any of them.
There's a fantastic photograph of Brendan O'Carroll and this kid, like in a boxing pose.
The pose,
like,
yeah,
very, very.
It means so much to the kids. I mean, walking around the wards today, you know, we're only handing out gifts and singing songs and doing a little bit of improv where we can, but it meant so much to the kids and the parents that, you know, just to have that break in the routine, and even things that you don't think about. I mean, we went with the mindset of let's do this for the kids, but you kind of forget about the parents. You know, there was parents there in their dressing gowns and their pajamas, you know, who are there night and day, and then the brothers and sisters as well. There's one ward, and one of the nurses was saying they don't have a playroom, so there's nowhere for the kids to kind of hang out, bar their wards, their rooms, and so they get the siblings of the sick kids kind of moping around the wards. And you know, so it's, you know, that's for next time. You know, we'll bring parents and for the kids as well. And
then they get to meet Gavin Duffy in person.
Is that the mullet fella? I don't know.
No, that was one of the celebs today.
Oh yeah, Gavin. Yeah, that Gavin Duffy.
The Dragon's Den.
But you know, there's a thing at the moment about Crumlin Hospital. The Ronald McDonald sponsor the Ronald McDonald House in Crumlin, which is basically a residency for parents of the sick kids to stay in. While, you know, so if you've got somebody who's coming up from the country somewhere, they've somewhere to stay, and there's cooking facilities, and there's been this drive, right, because the whole obesity in Ireland of, you know, is it appropriate for McDonald's to sponsor the bill? It was McDonald's were behind the whole thing, and you know, while that's a philosophical argument, the alternative is what you know, if it wasn't for McDonald's, we probably wouldn't have this accommodation on campus, and it's certainly not being funded by the state.
You can stay there in Ronald McDonald House, and
a few facilities that are.
There's cooking facilities.
There's a few in the Crumlin area. There's a number of Ronald McDonald houses. There's two facilities. One is a new build. The other is an old gym that was seized by NAMA, and they've handed it over to Ronald McDonald. They've turned it into apartments, and then they own a number of the houses in the area that are also used for families.
And would you be able to?
I happen to know some of the directors on that board, actually. It's very active.
And can you make your own sort of fries and shakes and?
I know, John. Actually, one of the things they do encourage.
You said cooking facilities. I mean, I was
cooking facilities.
Mm-hmm. Well, you see, if a family's up from Galway, they have a child in isolation, and the whole family come up at the weekend, and they stay there with the brothers and sisters, and they go visit.
That's fantastic. No, and I was just saying that a happy meal would be perfect then if you have a family. That's what I was saying.
But you know, one of the hardest things about that when I worked there myself was in the hospital is teenagers. You know, they're kind of surrounded by really young kids as well, and there was never. Now I know they've changed that now because they have Wi-Fi and stuff. But teenagers are kind of hanging around, and their friends would come in, and they were kind of surrounded by younger kids, and there was no place for them to hang out. I always found it harder when I was walking through the main hospital, is seeing teenagers who were very sick.
Yeah, well, and today then the kids know you're improv, or are you scripted?
The kids couldn't give a right swing in Mickey that we do improv, because the kids are improvising the whole time when they play. But I guess it's possibly nice for them to kind of be talking to adults in inverted commas who are willing to play as well. So. That's a little bit of banter, that we can have with the kids.
And Neil, do you do like a Whose Line Is It Anyway there with them, or?
Yeah, I mean, we were like, some of the kids were in their beds, and we were just playing a few games and getting them to give us ideas and suggestions. We try and get them involved, and there wasn't too many of the kids that were getting them involved. They probably thought we were shite, so they said they didn't want to be part of it. We did a couple as well for.
They're waiting for Gavin Duffy.
They were, yeah. I mean, that's the only reason we were there. Yeah, the dragon.
He's the Dragon's Den. He was at. There was a celebrity thing, Vanessa.
Yeah, maybe he could build a house for them.
Is he the guy that ran for election?
No.
No. You're thinking of Gallagher.
He was in RT. He's a big PR.
It's a running joke. I've decided to go with throughout the show now, Vanessa. So just go along with it. Anyway.
Oh, okay. I better Google him and see what he is. Does he have the fellow with the mullet?
No.
Do you like Brendan O'Hara or Ronan Keaton? It doesn't really matter. The kids know them as being popular.
Exactly.
But no one would have a clue who Gavin Duffy is, especially the kids. So I think that's what you're saying, John, is it?
Well, it was kind of a joke.
Gavin Duffy's very upset right now.
I can't wait to go to school tomorrow to say I met Gavin Duffy. But it wasn't against Gavin. Anyway. Vanessa.
Yeah, he's all right. Gavin's all right. He's not going to invest in us, John. He's all right.
Vanessa.
Happy birthday, John.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the banners and whatnot. Thank you very much. It's been.
Well, there was plenty left over.
It's been the greatest birthday of my life. Vanessa, your hopes and personal and beyond dreams for and wishes for 2018.
Well,
remember, I'm here, Vanessa.
Well, I suppose it'd be nice to reach 50 with as much elegance as you, John.
But that's maybe 10 years, surely.
Yeah. Thank you, John. My hopes and dreams for when?
The next 12 months.
Hopes and dreams. I actually don't have any.
Okay.
That's the truth. Other than, maybe Cork might give it a go next year again. I don't plan that far ahead for myself.
Okay.
Sorry, John. Very uninteresting answer.
No. Even for the purposes of sort of Telly show, no.
Right.
I'll come back.
Well, I won't be entering Ireland's Fittest Family. And what's the other show where they have to lose all the weight? What's that called? Operation Transformation. No, I don't think I'll be on that either, in the black tights. Unless Tuberty might have me on.
Okay.
Oh, you mean this TV show? This show?
Yeah. Vanessa, you're on the telly. You don't need to be on. Luke.
Well, maybe one day I'll have my own microphone and my own headset.
It's all sharing. I love it.
Yeah,
it's a real co-op.
Sharing's a good word.
In Crumlin or in Dublin 18 or whatever.
Oh yeah, I've stepped up. I'm out here now in real South.
Now, Olga will be joining you in a moment. She's just had a shift in town.
Never gets old.
I know a joke.
It just never gets old. Every week, it's like, is it going to get old? No.
No, that's our cuddly toy moment. Remember the cuddly toy on the Generation Game, and everyone would cheer. Now this is our cuddly toy.
Speaking of which, I gather Neil, you can't bring cuddly toys into Crumlin.
No, nothing was a risk of spreading infection, so no cuddly toys or teddies. What was very popular actually are the simplest, cheapest things, which are colouring books and activity books. Anything creative, and they cost only a few euro in the shop.
Really?
It was funny. We were getting toys donated from the improv community, and there was a lot of very specific toys like wrestling figures and Paw Patrol and stuff like that. But really, it's the coloring books and activity books that just are appreciated the most, which is interesting.
Yeah, I can actually speak to that because coloring books and coloring materials and drawing materials, when Johnny is finished with them in the waiting room or in, he's waiting to see his consultant, it goes into the bin, so it's able to control. It's what's known as infection control. So rather than leaving toys that are there all the time and they're holding all the different germs and snots and spit and vomit.
Toys every night or something, No, I guess not.
Say that again, John?
Just wash the toys at night? Or, no.
Yeah, but sure. I mean, there's still a half a dozen kids would have had to go off the rocking horse or something.
Yeah, we were walking around the wards, sterilizing our hands almost each sweep. They're very. We had a guide taking us around, and she was pretty strict, not strict, but she was pretty, reminding us to, sterilize your hands again, sterilize it again. So. They're pretty strong.
Luke, you must have been happy there with hearing about the coloring books and stuff like that. You see, we are going to go analog, aren't we? I mean, the whole world is going to go back to analog.
Yeah, I've actually a Polish friend whose sister made a coloring book, and he sent it over to me for Christmas, and it's just really beautiful. It's very interesting, like the whole thing of. I actually was thinking about that during the week that you can sort of have, a blank page in front of you, or you can have a coloring book, and, it's a very sort of easy way in to sort of like changing, I don't know what you guys are like, but like I have a tendency to come home from work a lot of the time and be too tired to do anything other than open the laptop. And if you have something like a coloring book that isn't like, a blank page that you have to try and dream stuff up, you can maybe sort of get into a more analog sort of space. You can sort of like sort of get into doing something real with your hands, and then all of a sudden you might have a bit of energy to do something other than like the tech stuff.
It's amazing that they went for the coloring books rather than the more
yeah. Well, I think but kids love to explore and to play, and all these things that we lose as we get older, because we get all serious and like we want to be good cogs in a big machine, and that sort of stops us sort of like enjoying sort of, like I said, the playfulness, and it's sort of it's self-perpetuating as well. Like if you start sort of drawing, then like before you know it, you're lost in it, and you sort of you want to keep doing it.
Yeah, we had an adult coloring book, or kind of like a grown-up coloring book on the site, and it's very tempting actually. It's looking at you just want to fill in, just see how you.
It seems there's a big craze now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's a big craze. I mean, like last year, like the top books on Amazon, and not in a particular category, but the top selling books on Amazon last year were coloring books. Because people got into this mindfulness, coloring in sort of as a way of, like I said, something different than getting into the phone or the iPad or whatever, and but sort of being a bit more real. And you sort of open your eyes after something like that, after spending half an hour doing that, and you're sort of energized, and you want to go for a walk in the park, or sort of hang out with friends or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
do you know what you need there, Luke? Is a dog.
A dog, yeah. I don't really like dogs though. That's a dog jumped up at me when I was a kid, and I was a bit scared of them.
But you could put them in paint, and they've got good paw prints.
Look, that's that should be a thing for 2018. We're going to get you and the dog together. We're gonna get through this.
Well, we
get dog friendly.
We tonight was a dry run because when he moves to Portugal, we're going to do a show from there.
Oh right, yeah. You're going to Portugal.
We're going on tour.
Broadsheet on tour.
You're going to Porto, aren't you?
That's correct, yeah.
And
lovely.
We're going to have our very own web summit there, John.
Yeah.
Oh, I beg your pardon?
We're going to have our very own Broadsheet and the Telly summit in Portugal.
You have to have a summit.
Well, I mean, we haven't been able to get this together at all out here in South Dublin, so it's absolute disgrace.
But at least we have Wi-Fi.
A taxi. There was no transport.
Well, at least we have broadband, which is a lot to be said for it.
And feedback.
Johnny has never looked so clear.
Johnny, I wanted to ask you, Johnny, can you?
I wanted to give you a health warning, actually.
Johnny,
this is true.
Would you mind? Sorry, Johnny.
John.
Would you mind going through now your Christmas day briefly, but give us the full day.
I want to hear the health warning first.
Oh.
Can I give you the health warning first, John?
About your day?
No. This is a genuine health warning. It's very, very, very interesting. I won't say funny because it is kind of serious. Friend of mine, daughter came back from school. I love it, John. Always flying the flag. And she had knits. Now that's not a big deal, but it kind of is because she's in secondary school. So usually, in my understanding, that the kids in national school have knits, and they just get knits because they hop from one head to the other, and that's just it. So it's a form of lice. But how did the secondary school kids have knits? So they kind of looked at the back of it. So apparently, it's a selfie. So when they're having selfie with kids coming from national schools, because they're close, it hops from one to the next. Now that's our experience, Vanessa. Vanessa's shaking her head there, but I'm thinking it's an interesting theory.
Why is Vanessa shaking her head?
I'm telling you, I am an expert on knits.
Please,
you know what it is? The coats and they were hanging. The knits travel, or the light, is it the lights? The fellas with the legs, they travel on hair. So they walk across, like in the cloakroom, on the hair on a collar or something, or they're trying on each other's hats. If any of you've ever been skiing, and you know the rented helmets, and you see they're selling the knit lotion in the stores.
Oh, okay. Do you wear a helmet skiing?
Well, the kids have to do it now, John.
The kids, of course.
No, I don't.
So but do you not think the selfie?
Also, I don't get knits because I've dyed hair.
But Johnny's saying that they've increased because of the bloody selfies.
Well, I think they've increased because parents aren't checking kids' hair.
Yeah, but also the selfie as well, though.
But you have to. I can tell you, anyone that checks their kids' hair.
It's a big story.
They're doing it every second.
Let Johnny have his moment, please.
I think we should.
I don't have my moment. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't have kids. Why I'm concerned, I don't even know.
I think we should start lobbying for plain packaging selfie sticks with health warnings to take up 60% of the size. I want to hear about Johnny's Christmas Day.
Yeah, but kids were getting knits long before there was selfies.
All around the house, it was quiet, except your room at what, 8 a.m. Christmas morning? What time do you get up?
Whatever time Jinx wants to get up, which is usually he likes to lie in Christmas Day.
9 o'clock. 10.
So, no, it's very kind of boring. If we go for a walk, in the last few years, I've got Jinx 4 years, so we'll just.
What time are you up though, Johnny? What time do you get up?
Oh God, John. Well, I'd say like Christmas Eve, we usually go for a few scoops. Now I've been in Kilkenny for the last 15 years, so that's nothing going on about my childhood back in Offaly, which was very romantic and beautiful, snowy. Because Christmas are great when you're a childhood, but no, it's just now no kids up around 9 o'clock. Have breakfast.
Would you?
Trying to kill
would you put the turkey on, or what? What time would you?
No, but I was saying like my wife's mother is a fantastic cook. My wife Maggie. And she's just fantastic, and she's got 7 kids and grandkids on top of that, and she's just an institution. She's an amazing artist, she's a shopkeeper, and she's a fantastic cook.
What's her name, Tony?
Phil Larkin.
Phil Larkin in Kilkenny. And so will you go to her house, Phil's house, at what time?
Oh, yeah. I'd say maybe 2, 3.
And would you bring Jinx?
And then just have a chat.
Would you bring Jinx with you?
Jinx, of course. Jinx is a big time welcome. He's actually has a bone already, so he's chewing on that. And so that'll be Jinx. He'll be happy out in the yard, big yard, and he'll come in and then buzz around with people.
You'll be
very, very low key, but very kind of
okay.
Nice.
But Phil would have a big dinner then, for a big Christmas dinner. And what time would that kick off?
Oh, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. After the Queen's speech, obviously.
and that would go on, and would there be some imbibing of drinks and whatnot, and crackers being pulled and
the traditional Christmas.
The works.
Exactly.
The works.
Yeah, it's just maybe the seating arrangements might be, I have a little bit of musical chairs because there's an awful lot of people, and which is great, like, because.
And that goes on to what time, Johnny?
I'd say between maybe a few board games or a few quizzes. No, with the crackers, just a banter, general catch up. Very, very smart family, Very, very like most Irish families,
And then did you sing?
Oh yeah, I would sing, and embarrass myself. But as long as I'm making people laugh, I'm happy, John.
But they're also and then what time would you wind up? Then what time would you finish on?
I think because everyone kind of lives locally, so I just kind of filter out maybe, I don't know, 9 or 10.
Okay.
And then back again for Stephen's Day.
Oh, back
more
to Phil.
The same. Round 2. Yeah.
Back to Phil's for round 2, and that'll be the kind of the turkey leftovers and all the which is even better, often better, they say.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. So, and then on the 28th, I go up. We have a traditional pool game with my old mates up in Offaly. So that's kind of in the calendar for the last 5 or 6 years, and that's really, really good. So it's going to be very good this year because I have to catch up. We didn't really catch up in the last few years because some guys couldn't make it and such. So we have a full lineup this year. So I'm looking forward to wiping the floor with them because essentially it's a pool competition, but it's a lot more than that. But there is cash on the table, so and the accolade of and we all walk into our favorite music. It's a bit like the Crucible,
Oh right. What's your theme song? Like the darts. What's your?
This is the one. It's pool, and it's good. It's a pool table. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was saying like the darts, when they come on.
Yeah. We're doing it long before them. So that's my Christmas tree. Anything else is a bonus. You could run into anyone, because there is people around, and I like the whole hunting of the Ran. It's not really too much down in Kilkenny, but
I'm not getting a lot of Christianity in your Christmas.
Oh yeah, well you can go to mass. There's many a church in Kilkenny if you want to go to mass. And I did because I like the whole idea of nostalgia, and obviously there's people gone on before us. It's a kind of Christmas Day you want to kind of connect. And there's nothing to be said. There's beautiful churches in Kilkenny. There's solitude there. So I could wake up Christmas morning and have the breakfast, and if I feel like taking the dog for a walk, I might. There's loads of times for mass. You don't have to be. It's nice. It's nice to have that hour because you're there with your thoughts. So it's not a bad thing.
Or even
I might not go.
Even after the pub, you can go to midnight mass.
That's what I was talking about that before. That was really good because that was interesting when I was younger. Because Forban's a kind of small town, but there's an awful lot of people. You don't realize how many people are actually from the town. And like most towns, I suppose, because they come back and they're wearing all the clubber and they look really shit cool, and you're going, oh my god, like, you're actually looking at a postcard of your town with midnight mass.
Yeah.
And as I said, they're half cut, so it's kind of novelty in itself as well. Looking at all this from
kind of like pillars of the community off there. But half sloshed.
Yeah.
They're in their Christmas clothes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the Johnny. I feel good about your Christmas day, Luke.
Thanks, Sean.
Your day, what time are we getting up in Dunleary for your?
Well, like I'll be down with my mum down in Wicklow. She lives down in Voca. So I suppose.
Voca, beautiful. So you wake up at what time?
9, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9, something like that. Just can't wait to get downstairs and check for presents under the tree. That way. No, but like I don't know. It's nice. Some of my brothers and sisters will be down, and it's nice. I've like I said, I've got 4 brothers and a sister, and like between us all, we're a pretty exotic bunch. I have a brother who married an Indian, so I've got 5 very lovely half Irish, half Indian nieces and nephews. My youngest brother married a Venezuelan. I've got a sister that married a Moroccan, and then I've a brother that married a girl from the wilds of Carlo. So between them all, there's quite a mix.
Exotic.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. I mean, Carlo's wild, Don't need to tell you that. I went to college in Carlo. It's a nice town, but
the Foundry.
Yeah. So, but so I'm going down to my brother's down in Waterford with the 5 kids
on Christmas Day itself, though.
I'm actually going down Friday night, and so have a bit of a sort of a thing there. Bring one of my brothers down, and then I'm also going to bring him over to my mum's then, and we'll sort of meet up with it. Everyone else will call down there, the Venezuelans, and also have the Venezuelan sister-in-law. Her brother is also over here now, and his wife. So it's their first Christmas in Ireland. So they're going to come down for Christmas Day. He's actually like in the process. He's a lawyer in Venezuela, but had quite a difficult time. So he's now applied for asylum here in Ireland. And you know, it's pretty horrific, the stuff that they're having to sort of get away from. And it's, you know, it's very nice that they have. You know, I mean, his sister is very much a part of our family now, and you know, they're just great fun. You know, so it's a lot of fun. There's a bit of color there, and it's.
What a strange time for him. Is he's not in direct provision, obviously, but I mean he's
no. So you know, he's at the moment he's staying with my brother and his wife. You know, so yeah, I mean they're they're getting by. It's, you know, they're obviously, it's very difficult. You know, even in terms of you apply for, like, you know, I think you've got a choice to go into direct provision or not. You get something from the government if you do, if you do go in, and you get nothing if you don't. And they also, like, they take, like, he had to do something there today. He was telling me, like, he to wire some money to someone, and he like, they take away your passport, and then they give you this like asylum card, and it says in it, this is not an identity card. So he couldn't even have, you know, his own identity, or be able to sort of, like, you know, to be able to send off like you just had a 20 euro payment to send to someone, and this sort of stuff is it's difficult, you know.
I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard to prove that he was run out of town. I mean,
yeah, well, you know, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff, you know, that sort of, you know, it's not, I mean, things are so difficult back there that it's not difficult to sort of have a case. But no, you know, I think, you know, people like that, he's, you know, like I said, he's a well qualified guy. He's a very, very great guy, as is his sister. And you know, sort of, it's great to have. I mean, I think Ireland wins. You know, we're lucky to have these people coming.
yeah, and now you're all down in Waterford on for the Christmas dinner, are you?
So, like, down with the Indian Brennans for Waterford, and then back up to the Venezuelans and the Moroccans and Carloites in Wicklow. So that's
Stephen's Day, is it?
The World Tour of Ireland. And
that's on the day. That's on the Stephen's Day then. So you've got to split. So,
yeah,
that's kind of it's kind of crazy, isn't it? I find. I mean, Christmas time, just to do
yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like traveling around. I like, you know, sort of seeing different, you know, sort of, I like driving. So I'm very happy to go around and visit everyone. It's kind of nice to see people in different locations as well. I know. But so like Christmas Day, I'll wake up down at my mum's place in Wicklow, and yeah, that'd be lovely. You know, sort of, it's nice and sort of serene down there. It's lovely.
And have you got to buy presents for all those people that you go to visit?
No, I mean, see, the thing is, like, I've got 9 nieces and nephews. Once you get past about 5, you just don't have to buy presents for anyone, you know, because it's just too many.
Give money.
I mean, that is controversial.
Yeah, well, you know, they'll get over it. You know, some good advice.
That's another side to you, Luke. We haven't seen the side to you. It's kind of
Darius joined the dark side.
Well, he brought us all the presents this evening, John.
Yeah.
I don't know what he got you now, but you should see what he got me.
His family won't have any on Christmas Day. It's terrible.
If there was 5 or more,
like, I mean, presents. I don't know. Like, you know, I mean, presents are one way of sort of showing, you know, sort of affection for people, but there's plenty of other ways to sort of like be encouraging and positive to people.
I think it's the way that other people like the most, though.
Yeah. Well.
If you
I don't know. I hate getting presents, to be honest. You know, I really don't like getting presents myself. Maybe that's why. You know, I just sort of, you know.
Yeah, it's often a very uncomfortable, awkward experience. I think getting. And I think our giving is
especially on the live stream.
Giving is a really nice feeling. Vanessa, could you describe your day? Now you have a daughter, so it's focused obviously around her. What time would you have to get up then?
Well, I'm in Cork this year for Christmas because the builders are in. So I'm down there with her. Yeah, well, I suppose she's 13 going on 30, so it's kind of what did you write your letter to Santi? No. Did you write your letter to Santi yet? So well, what do you want? You know, kind of
Yes.
makeup, clothes, money.
Okay.
That's as exciting as it gets now. Whereas, you know, when she was much younger now, the letter would be written in September.
Now she's just like a last minute email. And is
She should be on Broadsheet.
Is she? Does she have an expensive wish list?
It would be expensive, all right. Yeah.
How do you get to read the letter, or do you get to have a look at it?
No, she just gets what she's given. Simple as that.
So nothing what she asks for, she gets.
Yeah, no, she'll get well looked after. Yeah.
I like that. It'll teach her a thing or two about life. She does
get well looked after now. And you know, there was some years there she got a laptop as well as all the other stuff. You know, so she's quite well. She's spoiled. You know, when there's just the one John. You know.
Yeah. Well, and so your morning then you get up. You're up.
Well, if I was at home normally in my own house.
No. In Cork now, what happens? What will happen now?
What'll happen is I'll have to get up and put the turkey and the ham on because I'm cooking the dinner.
Okay.
And my parents would eat early in the day, so.
What time?
They'll probably eat around between 1 and 2, whereas if I was doing dinner at home, it would start at about 3 and end at about 8 at night.
Yeah, well, 1 o'clock is extremely early on Christmas Day, isn't it?
It is, but they're elderly, quite elderly. So
I mean, the omnibus EastEnders isn't even started, then. Like, it's crazy. That's crazy.
Do you know, I have never watched an episode of EastEnders.
So you get up. Would the turkey not be on for a few days? I mean, wouldn't you have had it prepared this like days before? No.
No, it'll just go into the oven on the morning of.
But when would you do the stuffing and whatnot?
I'll do that while they're baking in the oven or roasting in the oven.
Okay, so it's kind of off the hoof, really. You know, on the hoof, really. It's kind of it's like you're cooking a dinner, really.
I am cooking a dinner.
But it's not like a special Christmas, I'm gonna make this particular stuffing, this pudding, this.
Oh yeah, no, I do my stuffing, yeah, I do my stuffing. Yeah.
Okay. You just do it on the day.
Yeah.
Okay. So you cooked, you have your meal 2 o'clock. That's it.
I'll watch a movie or fall asleep traditionally, you know.
And your parents what would they be up to? Would they be watching the TV with you then? And
yeah, they would, yeah.
Okay. And why would they eat so early in the day?
They've just gotten used to it. They're elderly, you know, and they'd be in bed earlier, and they'd have like a light supper maybe.
Okay, and then when they go to bed, you sort of party time.
Oh yeah. I'd be hitting Cork. I'd be looking for Chandra's on Stephen Knight.
Oh, would you? Oh, right. Okay, so that's it. Like, hit the town, hit the pana.
The pana.
Yeah, probably no. I don't know.
In your new Christmas outfit. So
my Christmas clothes. Yeah.
So it's Christmas Day then. It's really just the morning, the gifts, and then the dinner, and that's it.
Yeah, there'll be the gifts, the prezzies. Yeah.
And you said a couple of weeks ago that it's all about the eating on Christmas Day and Christmas.
Yeah.
And what about the boozing? Would you hit the bottle?
Probably not in Cork, you know. But if I was at home, I'd be having a drink. Yeah.
But when your parents go to bed, would you like not hit the cabinet, the drinks cabinet, and make up for lost hours and the stress and all that?
That makes me sound like I'm still living there and I'm a teenager when they're not around.
But you kind of revert to that, though, you revert to the child state with the parents. One does, I find, no?
I'm not sure because they're at a stage now where they have help in the house as well, you know?
Okay.
So you're kind of, you've gone beyond reverting back to the child, say, when I was visiting years ago.
Okay.
So it's the relationship, I suppose, is quite different. But
and does the help stay there for the Christmas as well?
No, they come and visit.
Okay. So you're looking after them for the Christmas and
A bit like that, yeah. And they get to see my daughter as well, so they get to hang out with her
of course,
for a few days.
And you get to give your daughter what you didn't want in her letters to Santa, but
This is it. She didn't write a letter to Santa. She might have sent him a WhatsApp, but she didn't copy me in it.
she texted him, she said.
I don't know. Instagram. Maybe it was up on Instagram. I don't know.
And Neil, it's Sadie's first Christmas, so it's not about you, okay?
It never will be ever again. Yeah.
What's your
This
day?
is fluid.
Don't knock it till you try it.
Neil, how does your day start? It starts at...
See, I don't get what you guys are all talking about. I'm very much a let's stay in bed as long as I can, but I think that's been scoopered now. So George will probably make a move first, and then
George is your gay lover.
Yeah, he is. He's very hairy, very hairy. Yeah, but he's got great tongue action.
And the wife doesn't mind him on the bed.
No, doesn't mind all 4 legs. What I like about Christmas, well, actually, one of the issues I have at the moment is like the baby is 10 weeks, so she'll be 11 weeks when Santa comes. But I don't agree with Santa coming at that kind of age. And I get a lot of stick over this. Everyone thinks I'm the bad guy here, but she's not going to give a shit.
Yeah, but it's all about you.
You recommend 12, don't you?
At 12, at least 12 years
to start giving gifts.
We're all full of shite at Christmas time, which is probably why it's nice. One of the things I like doing about Christmas is bringing George for a walk, going for the walk with the dog at a point during the day, because you meet the people that you meet. Most people you meet are out on the walk for relief.
Yeah.
You know, they're getting away from family members.
And
they're
But the kids are trying out their new bikes and scooters.
you get that as well. You get to see a slice of human life, of Irish life, that you don't get to see any other day of the year.
And because of Sadie now, will you be laying off the hooch?
I wouldn't really be drinking a lot of it on Christmas Day anyway. You'll have your few glasses and then a few more, but when you have to get up in the night to do an old bottle feed, it's not worth it.
Yeah, and that's just you, the bottle feed.
That's just,
Neil does it all, you see, so it's very hard to...
It wasn't for me to be home.
So how many people are you're not cooking, Neil, tomorrow on Christmas, sir?
Yeah, well, there'll be, excluding the Babog, there'll be 3 of us, excluding George as well.
Excluding George, but will you be cooking, Neil?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, and
a proper Dublin 18 feast at that as well.
What's a proper Dublin 18?
Is that ham as well as turkey? Or?
Oh, it'll be the finest ham. It'll be the finest pig. They're going to ship the pig from some far off fucking country that you don't get in stores. There'll be turkey and ham, but there'll be a wonderful scallops and chorizo starter.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, scallops. This is controversial, and chorizo.
You're on the south side now.
What is
You can thank Nigella Lawson for that.
Okay, so that's but traditional for the main.
Traditional for the main, yeah.
And have you made a Christmas pudding?
No, I don't. I don't really have a sweet tooth, so.
Okay. So will you
stuff in your face
brandy and light it over anything?
Oh, I'll probably pour brandy over myself and light it at that point. There might be a bit of trifle.
I was going to say, apart from Johnny, Sadie won't remember Christmas either,
No, so why would Santi? Why would Santi come?
Neil, if you poured some brandy over yourself, like George would probably lick it off.
And he's some tongue work, I can tell you.
Enough about George. And so your day would end about 10 o'clock. Is Stephen's Day? You see, I think my theory is Stephen's Day is the best fun day.
Well, now you know about this controversy in Donegal. There's this nightclub that has gotten a license, and they've gotten this license most years to open at a minute past midnight, the end of Christmas Day. And the guards have been objecting to it, and some of the locals have been objecting to it. But it was in the news today, but it's one of their most popular nights of the year. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd seen this thing on Stevens. I remember when we were younger, we used to go out to Portmarnock to visit relations, and we'd head into Mango's, at a midnight past midnight on Stephen's night. But to think that people are that desperate to get out of their homes at midnight that they're going into some dicey nightclub in Donegal.
Yeah, but they're all dolled up and they've a few bob from their nana in their pockets, you know?
Yeah, there is that, but also there's something. It can't be healthy. Like 8 hours with your family.
Well, what does that tell us?
In a confined space, and also kind of like, you know, weird brothers-in-law and who's this guy? Well, you know, like,
can you imagine Luke's mother now and all these strange women coming into the house? You know,
Confusion.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd say you should be looking them up and down now.
Well, actually, my youngest is a chef. He's taking care of the cooking, so that sort of sorts all that out.
Your younger brother is?
Yeah.
Is he a chef?
He is. Yeah,
that's well sorted.
He's a chef, Luke.
Yeah, he is.
That's fantastic.
Why didn't we go there?
Next Christmas.
I mean, we were all going to help with Christmas dinner, but then he said he would, so we said grand.
Grand. That's good. But chefs usually make a complete mess in kitchens. I don't know if you've had that experience.
Well, that's it. We'll all help with the cleanup.
Yeah, but who does the cleanup? Do you?
Oh, no, we all do. Yeah, we do. Yeah, no, we'd be good.
I mean, somebody's got to actually do the dishes.
Well, it gets you sort of. It gets people get a break from everyone. You know, if they sort of are doing different stuff and helping out and. Yeah.
But it's not a burden on your mum now. You're not putting everything.
No. I mean, no. I mean, she would. You know, we're trying to. She's like 76 now, so like she would like go with it and sort of do everything. But like we try and our best to sort of like try and take the task away from her at this stage. You know.
Well, that's fantastic, and Johnny, that's important too. Like your mother-in-law, I know she's a good cook and everything, but you know, she's 98.
No, obviously, the women always step up and be counted while the lads just sit down and chat away. So
that's very sexist, Johnny.
That's not sexist, unfortunately.
Her blindness doesn't have an issue. It's great. She just.
It's more kind of like, you know, are the lads being looked after? That's how considerate she is. But no, I don't mean it like that. I mean, like, we have to have a kind of system in place because it's such a small space with so many people that you clean as you go.
Yeah, exactly. And
they lick their plates there anyway. There won't be a bit left if you don't clean it.
Well, then you don't need to wash them, really. I mean, technically, they are.
I heard something about a dishwasher. I don't know. I think on Back to the Future. Hopefully, we'll get one of them down the country soon.
Yeah, but often the crack can be in the kitchen when you're washing up and you're talking to some dodgy brother-in-law and and having the smoke and whatever.
John, what kind of Christmases are you used to?
Yeah, speaking of which, John, what are you doing? What time do you get out of bed?
I'm having a green Christmas.
Yourself and Dan, is
it? I'm going to do the site. I think I'm going to do keep it as a lifeline. But you didn't ask me what my hopes and wishes for 2018.
Okay.
Well, there
sorry.
we go.
Yeah. Well, my first wish is that
such a young man.
My first wish is that Olga would come in and do the papers from our.
Well, we have a communication.
She's on her way.
She's on her way.
Okay. Well, then I might have to take a break to do the papers because if she's in transit. But
transit now, half an hour. So
can I?
There's a lot more talking than.
Yeah, we could hold a fort while you're getting that together, John. You know, I mean,
that'd be great.
Not everyone.
John, maybe be producer for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Neil is the producer. Believe it or not,
I'm looking busy. Yeah,
it's Christmas though. It's the time of giving.
Well, it's your birthday show, John. You're supposed.
It's all about
to be
sharing,
asking,
isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
What's your ideal present? What would you love? What would be the present you'd love?
World peace.
John,
But then you'd have nothing to worry about, John.
John, what conspiracy theory do you hope is true? What's the one you really want to be true?
Well, I know they're true. You know, I know the ones that I believe.
What one? What is the one that you are the most?
What would make your day?
Oh, I think.
What's going to surprise us this year?
Well, I think the one that I think is the most kind of benign conspiracy theory, like 9/11 and stuff, is very serious. They're like false flags and all that. But I think the moon landing as a hoax is a pretty, benign. It had a Cold War. There was a reason, that wasn't completely malicious and depraved.
They got there before the Russians.
Well, so I think that 2018 is going to be a year of revelations. I think genuinely we're going to be gobsmacked by the things that we're going to discover about our past and our history.
Well, John, do you know
everything we know.
Do you know what blew up the year you were born? Apollo 1. On the launch pad.
Well, apparently.
Did you know
yes,
that?
I do.
Wow.
You started all that, Carrie Ann.
I know Apollo House is going up.
The astronaut who died had been a big critic of the NASA program prior to him being killed. Anyway, so that's another conspiracy theory. But I do think that there's going to be a year of a huge amount of revelations. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on.
We're going back to the Bible.
Well,
are you going to tell us something about yourself, John?
I think Genesis are going to have a reunion. Sorry.
Where? In the land of confusion.
Will they come on the show?
I hope so. I thought the Dan Boyle interview was very interesting. I'm not too sure. What did you think yourselves?
I think it was interesting to hear Dan Boyle say that the Green Party got it wrong. I don't think, as bad and all as the Green Party were, I don't know if we can say are anymore because we don't see them anymore, but as bad and all as they were, to hear somebody, anyone in politics, say we got it wrong is quite a there's integrity behind that. But I mean, I was dying to ask him a couple of questions, but I think it was fair given given the season of goodwill and all that. But when I look back at the Green Party, all I remember is an increased tax for living your life. That's essentially how I perceived the Green Party when they were in coalition. But he did well. Dan came across well today, so kudos to him for that.
Sorry, Neil. Which tax is the carbon tax? What tax?
Well, I mean, it was like everything that everything of like the rejig of the motor tax system or the how that worked.
Easy.
And then there was this thing that I don't think they introduced in the end, but this whole thing about cobble locking. People who were cobble locking their driveway. The Greens were saying, this is bad for this. So they wanted to ban cobble locking on people's driveways and all this kind of. Something to do with drainage. I can't remember the ins and outs. This is years ago now, but it just felt like at every corner we were turning where there was something potentially environmental happening, the response from the Greens was tax it.
Right. Just an anti-happiness brigade.
Yeah, you said it. That's it. Now Dan's a lovely guy. He seems really nice. We're not talking about Dan here specifically or anything like that, but that was always what I got from the Greens.
It's a real shame because, like, I think I don't know. I've sort of like I've always had an interest in the Green sort of way of thinking, and they do a lot of things to turn people against them. They don't. There was a whole. I was talking to. There's that Green Village down in Clough-Jordan. Where they've done really interesting things, but like that came about.
Luke?
We lost Luke. He's actually talking in the other room.
Luke, we completely lost Luke there. Would somebody go into him and
He's talking.
Sorry.
It's possible to get lost in 100% Wi-Fi as well.
Yeah. All right. I'm back in the room.
You're back.
Yeah. No, I was just saying that, like, I was down, like that crowd that built the eco village down in Clough-Jordan. I was down with them. They have a lovely little innovation center, and they have a sort of, like, the 3D printers and profiling stuff, and like, a nice little innovation hub for making things and all that. And like all of that, the Clough-Jordan as a town was dying. They had sort of massive problems with things falling away from I mean, like what Johnny was saying about sort of everything moving to big cities. But they revitalized it, and the town is growing. And that all started because people, were meeting up in Dublin, and they sort of sat down one day because the guy who showed us around the place was telling us this, that they decided, okay, well, we know lots of things that we're against, but what are we actually for? And it was true that they said, okay, well, if we're for all this, why don't we sort of make a good example, and we'll build this village, and we'll, and it was very difficult. It happened at the middle of the boom. They paid too much for the land, for the services, and everything else. But they actually, I think something like they've an interesting statistic. I think something like 80% of the A-rated houses in Ireland are in this little village, and but all sorts of like huge variation in the different types of houses they built. All very well insulated. They even have, there's a guy down there who has like a DC only sort of power system in his home. There's all sorts of variations in building and stuff like that. And I think,
Luke, just give me 1 second. I'm going to have to do the papers, okay?
Sure.
So you continue.
Yeah, but can I jump in, Luke? Do you not think that the Greens are somewhat delusionally idealistic as opposed to offering anything?
Yeah,
practical in a balanced way.
What I was saying was that it's rare that that happens, that they actually say, okay, we know what we're against, what are we for? Like they rarely ask that question, and they rarely try and make palatable sort of options that people can sort of embrace whatever ideas, because they usually have good ideas, but they don't, they usually sort of make people suffer for their good ideas. By taking the moral higher ground and whatever else. I think that's actually, that seems to be to me where they go wrong. And I was happy to see them in government, but I wasn't happy with the output. It just sort of it seemed, and I don't know. Look, I didn't really understand how it all ended, but they seem to be like sort of very happy about it ending wrongly or badly. They seem to be, sort of somehow sort of like just accepting of the fact, and they're all going off to become, I don't know, sort of like greengrocers or something, and I don't know. It just seems very weird.
Well, Catherine Murphy is the one Green Party TD. I think she's the one Green Party TD in Ireland.
Is she in this constituency?
She's Dublin Rathdown, yeah. Or Dunleary Rathdown, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, so yeah, like I love the idea, but I've never been impressed with the party.
Guys, I'm just going to putting up the papers. The lead story, though, on does this interest us? I won't back direct rule for North, from Leo Varadkar. It's quite.
Have you that up on the site, John?
I'm just about to put it up now.
Okay.
It's kind of, he's ratcheting up the rhetoric anyway.
Yeah, I think he's doing it to wind up Arlene.
And Mary.
I tell you, he's playing a blinder though with this whole Brexit thing, and it kills me to say it because I'm not a Leo fan, but he really is playing a blinder with the handling of Brexit. And I don't know if you saw it. It's only in the news this evening. Simon Coveney's comments about the US issued an ultimatum to the UN about recognizing Jerusalem, that basically if any country backed the UN resolution, that the US would withdraw funding, and Ireland was one of the 128 countries that did not side with the US, and Simon Coveney was vocal about it, which also impressed me. And there was countries like Australia, Canada, some of the Eastern European countries which abstained from the vote, so those guys sat on the fence.
Yeah, this is incredible stuff, isn't it, really? I mean, when you think about it.
I'm like I say, I'm no fan of Leo, but what this is between himself and Simon Coveney now, this is impressive, and I don't use that word lightly.
Is this just an anti-Trump thing?
I don't know, because Olga's at the front door. I'm going to have to let her in. Apologies.
Well, I think Trump has established himself as just a bloody blowhard, so the lads are just letting him at it. And the idea that he could say if all the other countries in the world don't ratify Jerusalem capital, they were going to kind of come and get them. That's nonsense.
Well, it's not come and get them. It's just say, look, we're going to withdraw funding for your particular things.
It was overreaching in the typical Trump style.
Yeah, Johnny.
I didn't know that about Coveney and telling Trump to go on shite when it comes to Jerusalem, because he should. That's ballsy. But I'm going to watch that. That could be just platitudes again. Because Coveney was in that Bilderberg, remember, with Peter Sutherland only the other year, and he's happy news. Hi, Olga.
Olga's back from her shift.
Everything's great. Everything's great now. Don't worry about it. Palestine. It's amazing that this should happen at this time of year. The focus should be on Jerusalem and Bethlehem. And it's just because it's not in the news, it's still serious shit there, you know.
And Catalonia has delivered a pro-independent majority.
Wow.
So that's fun and games for Europe, isn't it? Is Neil gone? Is he?
No,
He just
He's getting a glass for Olga.
Oh right, okay. And welcome
Olga's
to
going to
Olga.
tell us about her shift.
All right.
Klinger.
She loves a shift on a Thursday. Who doesn't?
what were you saying, John?
She's just tugging on now in a sec.
I'm just putting these papers.
This is live.
Oh no. This is
This is live.
this is like come dine with me.
There's new photographs of Harry and Meghan.
Oh gosh.
There's a Russian spy in number 10 Downing Street.
Another one.
The Queen.
The UN turning on.
Is she a Russian spy?
Well, she was German.
There's a fantastic picture of a Paralympian medal winner. Gorgeous. I'll just pull up the papers. Olga. Is Olga?
Yeah.
Olga?
She's just taking a seat at the other side, and then she's logging in to the Wi-Fi.
Okay. Well, we've got about 10 minutes left. I'm just
Don't go in there.
putting the
John, do you know who else is 50 this year?
who?
Vin Diesel.
He's 50.
We should all try and look like Vin Diesel, lads. He's 50 as well this year.
He's 50.
Yeah.
I share.
And do you know who else would have been 50? Kurt Cobain is the same age.
He would have been 50.
He
Today.
would have been 50. No, not today, but this year.
I know that I shared my birthday with Noel Edmonds, the tidy bearded former
Is he 50?
DJ.
Oh.
No.
Do you know who would have been 50
Kurt Cobain,
today?
John.
Do you know who
Go
would have
with
been
that.
50 this
No, he's
year?
not 50. It's his birthday. He might be.
Oh, right. Do you know who else was 50 this year? Anna Nicole Smith.
Was she? She would have been 50.
Yeah.
My God, what a glittering.
Yeah, and just, there you go. See?
you're just one of many stars, John.
Pamela Anderson is 50 this year as well.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh my God, and she's dating Julian Assange, who must be younger than 50, isn't he?
I
Is
think he's
he?
about 50.
God.
I think he's as old as you, John.
No, he's young. He's a younger man than me, I think.
I was about to say, well, at least you're not imprisoned in where you're living, but then
Ecuadorian embassy. Probably.
Do you know what else happened in the year you were born, John?
Can you imagine the smell?
Sergeant Pepper was launched.
Can you imagine the smell in that place? I know, like 5 years, 6 years of bloke kind of smell. You know? No matter how clean you were, the windows open. Sorry, Vanessa, you were saying.
I'll let you indulge that for a sec. But do you know what else happened in 1967?
Summer Love.
True, the Summer Love, but it was also the riots in Detroit.
No, 68.
Yeah.
Was that 68? You sure it wasn't 67?
Yeah, because I know the lad who lit the first match.
Homosexuality or the
John Sinclair.
All right. Well, it's no surprise you know him anyway.
homosexuality was decriminalized in Britain in 1967.
Oh, was it? Okay. Well, all I know is the first ATM was introduced. Yeah. And do you know what was the Christmas number one was?
I think I do. It was Obladi Oblada.
No. Hello, goodbye.
Hello, goodbye. Right. But I think it's a
That's
double A
really
side with Obladi Oblada.
Do you know who else was born this year?
Maureen Potter.
No.
Oh, in 67. Sorry, no. I don't know. Who, Vanessa?
Billy Keane was the same age, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But is it-
Very controversial figure. We won't discuss her. I want to wish everybody, by the way, a very, very happy Christmas. All the readers, all the commenters, and even the trolls.
But it's about we're here to wish you happy birthday. To mind the Christmas.
There, Olga. Are you doing
Happy birthday, John.
Happy birthday.
Will
Happy
we light the
Christmas.
candles again?
Or did you like food?
Olga,
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
doing papers there? Are you? Or
Yeah, I'm just yeah.
Oh, right.
Here, John, just come a little bit closer.
Oh, can I have a look at the birthday cake?
Look at Vanessa did.
You could have a slice now. I mean, it's coming up to
Do I have
10.
some cake now?
Yeah, and start drinking heavily now. I would.
Well, there will be no guards now realizing, I'm sure. They've learned their mistakes.
There's no breathalyzers tonight, no? Well, it's been...
Why was the snowman making through the carrots?
No idea.
He was picking his nose.
What's the difference between snowmen and snow women?
No balls.
Find
those papers quick, Olga.
Sorry.
Yeah, please.
No, John. No.
There's also the one. There's also the one of the two. There's two snowmen walking along, and the two snowmen walk along, and one turns to the other and says, "Can you smell carrots?"
Okay, please, Olga, hurry.
I'm really hurrying. So you know, Trump got his. He got the go ahead to build a wall in Clare.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be appealed though.
He's getting the Mexicans to pay for it.
On the Times Ireland edition, the splash is Varadkar, I won't back direct rule for North.
Olga, you're 5 minutes behind us now. Come on.
Okay.
I broke that.
Oh, did you?
I shared that at least 10 minutes ago.
Okay. CUH cancelled surgeries for 2 weeks.
Why are you smiling? Why are you smiling at that news?
I'm not smiling. I'm just trying to do this as quickly as possible.
Oh, there's a ribbon on the cake. Look.
Okay, we have about 5 minutes to go. I just want to thank earlier Dan Boyle. You just tell me when they're up, Olga. Want to thank Dan Boyle. Want to thank everybody on the site. I'm just wondering, actually, while people are on, Luke and Johnny, and do you think we should have a show next week?
I won't be around myself.
I won't be around, John.
Johnny, you won't be around?
Competition is on one Wednesday a year.
Yeah. And Neil, same?
Is it a competition or a tournament?
Sadly, I am around. So
you're around. Okay. Well, we maybe discuss something. Maybe a thing with people from abroad.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Some manner of. Anyway, we'll talk about it, Neil.
Sure.
Anyway, without further ado, Olga is going to.
Well, I've only just got the Irish ones up, so
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, so just give me another second.
Okay, tomorrow's December the 22nd.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's the start of Capricorn. And if it's your birthday tomorrow.
So how do you feel about your birthday, John? I only have to get in here, so I've missed.
I feel good. I feel great.
Yeah, you feel good?
Yeah, I feel. It's been certainly the best birthday I've ever had in my life.
Sorry, what did we say?
The last hour and a bit.
High point of your life.
Presents on.
Did he?
Oh.
Since
Gold Ranger wrapping paper.
Could I also put in a?
Your cake is lovely, John.
It's not just my birthday today. It's my twin sister's birthday also tomorrow.
Well, we decided just to make it all about you, John, because you always had to share it.
No. Well, yeah, but now we're in the closing minutes. It doesn't really matter. I've had my fun.
What's your sister's name, John?
My sister's name is Katrina Ryan. Trina, happy 50th.
Happy birthday, Katrina.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Katrina. And Olga's going to, without further ado, Olga's going to bring us to tomorrow's papers.
Okay, so as I said there's Irish Examiner. CUH cancelled surgeries for 2 weeks. Senior medical staff blocked plans to shut theatres for a third week. By Catherine Shanahan. All scheduled surgery has been cancelled at CUH Cork University Hospital for 2 weeks over Christmas, despite there being almost 1,500 people on waiting lists. Management at CUH had planned to shut down theatres for 3 weeks, but this was blocked by the senior medical staff. So the closure was met with total resistance by surgeons on the basis it could result in worse outcomes for patients. Despite this resistance, the hospital is to cease elective non-urgent surgery from Monday, at a time where there are 1,431 people on waiting lists. So there's that. There on the right by Niall Murray, Orla Tinsley. People would know her. She's got cystic fibrosis. She's been a campaigner for better services in Ireland for years, but she's been in New York. I think she's going to Columbia University. But so she has had a double lung transplant today, and I think she's in recovery. So I think she's had it. So all the best for her. And then that's the Trump story. So that rock barrier. So he's got the go ahead for that.
He also got his tax reform in the US has passed, which is a bit of a surprise. So he got the majority on that. So that's a huge win for him. That's a bigger story because there's going to be knock-on implications for Ireland as a result of that. So
But it only went down to about 25%. It's not down to 12.5%.
it's 21 or 22, but still, there'll be changes as well to repatriation of profits.
Yeah, it's amazing. And also the 13 billion.
I think it's going to have the impact people think it is.
America wants that 13 billion as well.
Yeah, I mean.
Sorry, Olga.
Ireland rejects Jerusalem recognition. Ireland was among 128 countries last night to vote against Trump's recognition of Jerusalem. So
he's very cross about it.
We discussed that before you.
Oh, did you?
Well,
okay, sorry. Okay.
In depth.
Okay, and so then go down to the Times of Ireland edition. So you broke this, I think, John. Did you say Varadkar? I won't back direct rule for North. Titakovitz, UK relations are strange. There's a picture there of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry.
Isn't that? It's an odd picture.
Do you think
she's pregnant?
Wow.
No, it's the way he's holding the belly. Like it's kind of one of those. I bet you've loads of photographs. With you doing this to Mrs. Carmen.
They give the shotgun solution.
I'm not a monarchist by any means, but as a 50-year-old ginger guy, he's a bit of a hero.
I was wondering that today. Actually, I was thinking, God, so many ginger men must be like, wow.
Yeah.
Hero.
You got a girl.
Well, I think isn't an interesting thing that's happening there.
Who would be your princess, John?
1 second, Vanessa. Sorry, Luke.
No, I was just going to say, isn't the interesting thing that's happening there is that sort of one of the royal family is sort of marrying someone whose grandmother is an African American, which I mean even that's a sort of serious news, and a serious positive.
And his grandmother's a lizard.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So quite a mix.
That's terrible.
Interspecies is the best.
She's an elderly girl now. Leave her alone.
So
who would be your princess, John? The gingers are dating all the girls these days.
Oh, George. Neil's friend George was
Right with his tongue.
Last Christmas he gave me his heart.
Oh.
And George, he's not allowed on my bed anymore.
The brandy.
Sorry, Olga. Do you want to carry on?
There's the story at the top there. Poachers shoot and kill 3 of Santa's reindeer kept in pen by Aaron Rogan. So poachers shot dead 3 deer who were housed in a pen at a children's Santa experience in Wicklow.
Oh God! Who shot them?
Poachers.
Yeah.
Michael O'Leary shot them.
Yeah, he wanted to join a union.
That's crazy. Okay, is there any more?
The son, Daddy, I'll blow him away. Accused fired 2 shots hitting baby. That's in relation to that shooting in Dublin there.
Okay.
In Mulhard, you remember the one that happened in there about
Yes.
last week, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, and I didn't get to put the English ones up.
Okay, and the Examiner's there, no?
The Examiner, yeah.
Oh yes, we'd seen the Examiner. The CUH is cancelling the surgeries. Well, it's 12:02. It's technically I'm 50. Thank you very much for
Happy birthday.
happy birthday to me and happy Christmas to everybody. Oh, sorry,
John. Quick shout out. Sorry, I'm hearing my voice back. Stephen Garland, friend of the sheets.
Yeah.
Just arrived back in Dublin today. And he had a beautiful video in relation to thanking everyone who supported him in the last 2 years since he was diagnosed. But it really is some kind of miracle that what happened to Garland in Russia, because he's got so much faith in the doctor who put him through all the surgery and such. But it was amazing that he's flying back, and he's arriving in Dublin this evening. But he's back in, I think, 30 days, maybe 2 months of hard. He literally was broken down, and he looks worse for wears, but very happy. And there's a beautiful video. I'll send it on to you, and you might put it up tomorrow. Yeah. Because I know he got a lot of goodwill. So, but his positivity is really what the spirit of Christmas is, and what that guy has been through in the last 30 days, and he's going to be brilliant. So looking forward to seeing a little bit more of him in the new year as well. And I think he'd be a great contributor for the sheet as well, because his story is ongoing, and yeah, he's very, very inspiring. So I'd like to wish him a happy Christmas.
Brilliant, happy Christmas to
welcome back home.
We had stem cell treatment in Moscow, and we put up the video tomorrow. Very, very happy Christmas, Johnny. Happy Christmas, Luke. Very happy.
Happy birthday, John.
Thank you very much. Happy Christmas to Vanessa and to Neil Curran. Thanks for the use of the house, Neil, tonight. And happy Christmas to Sadie and all that. To Oren, to your daughter and your parents down in Cork. Happy Christmas, Olga Cronin. Briefly, what are you going to do on Christmas Day? Is it back down to Cork?
Yeah, I'm going to Cork, back down to Cork. Yeah, so my family, sisters, 2 of my brothers will be home. I'm one of 5, 3 brothers all live abroad, so 2 of the brothers will be home. My sister, she's got 4 kids. She just had her 4th there. Radine, actually very close to when you had Sadie. So yeah, so big gangs.
I forget that you're in the same room, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel weird talking to the So yeah,
we should do this again, lads.
That's a really good Christmas, Olga, and to all the Broadsheet readers and everybody, thank you so much for a great year, a very tough year, but and thanks to everybody on the Telly panel. I'll name them all in the item tomorrow. Thank you so much, and we'll probably see you on the site tomorrow, or maybe
one last joke, John.
Oh yeah, please, Vanessa.
Is it go? One last joke.
Please.
What goes oh?
No idea. What goes oh?
Santi walking backwards.
We're gonna end the show with that joke.
What?
That's a great joke. That's a great joke.
It's a cracker.